All right, we're going to continue with our media availabilities here this morning in advance of this weekend's race at Darlington Raceway. We've now been joined by Chris Buescher, who's the driver of the number 17 Ford for RFK Racing. Chris, first of all, welcome to Darlington. Welcome to the NASCAR playoffs this season. Tell us a little bit about kind of how this last week has been for the team prepping to come here, and then kind of what you guys are looking forward to tomorrow.
Yeah, I guess for us, how good is that rolling? So we've been working on this one before Daytona. One of the good things about being locked in ahead of time, we were able to basically take our normal Daytona stuff. We haven't had to change a whole lot of it, and we've had fast Mustangs when we've gone to those racetracks, so we're able to start looking ahead to Darlington already, and realize this is a track where I really love this place. It's one of my top 3 favorite racetracks we go to, but I have a lot to learn here still. So still trying to be better when we come down here. Brad's been very good and been studying a lot of what he does here as well. Was very fast in qualifying and the race earlier in the spring. So just trying to get ahead of that and trying to get ready for track conditions. So nice weekend. Surely appreciate it after some of the hot ones we've had over the summer. Gonna be a long race. So we got a lot to figure out in a very short practice when we come down here. But I don't know. I feel like we're in a good place. Got a lot of momentum. A lot of things that we've been able to improve from the RFK side since we were here in the spring, and certainly very optimistic about coming in here today.
All right, we're now going to go to questions for Chris. If you have a question, raise your hand. We're going to work to get the mic to you. We have several people with their hands raised. We're going to start up front with Jordan.
Jordan Bianchi, The Athletic. You change your routine at all? Anything at all this week with the playoffs ramping up?
No, pretty much business as usual, right? So I guess with the exception of our media day down in Charlotte, that would be the biggest change in my schedule. I went somewhere where civilization exists. So that was about it. For the most part, we're all systems go. It's kind of the approach tried to take pretty much all season long is we're going to the racetrack to try and figure out how to win that race. There's always a bigger picture in play, but understanding and just the way I've looked at this for my entire career is all the point stuff, all of that comes with winning races and running well and trying to win races. Understanding that you can't take excessive risks in times where it may not be intelligent to do so, but no, we're doing the same things. Working off of the same baselines that we've been able to establish this season. Had a lot of different styles of racetracks. It really hasn't put too much of a curve in our trajectory here for what we've been looking at for the week.
All right, Lee, go ahead.
Lee Spencer, CatchFence.com. Chris, you take a lot of pride in living out in the country, and I'm just curious, after 3 wins in the last 5 races, are people starting to recognize you now as more than Charlie's dad?
No, everyone still wants to see Charlie, not me. But I will say somehow or another have gotten recognized more in our little area than I ever have anywhere else. So, which is cool because we've been able to make some really good friends out our way and kind of stay in that small little community. But I guess it's not quite as subtle now when we have balloons tied to our mailbox after race wins. Got all this stuff hanging out there, and we had some people coming up trying to build a shop. Have been for a year, and try to do a lot myself, which really slows me down. But in the process, we just happened to have all those balloons tied on when had someone come in to do some work. And I go, well, whose birthday is it? I was like, no birthdays, just celebrating a little bit. And it turns into celebrating what? And then you sit there trying to explain, like, okay. They're like, all right, this didn't make sense, this building out here on a farm. So I don't know. It is fun out there. Like I said, we've met some really good people. Small world. I'm certainly learning that. A lot of people in racing some way, shape, or form. A lot of drag racers around us. And, been meeting a lot of those people here in the last several years. And I don't know, it's just it's fun. It's fun being out that way.
All right. I think we had a question in the back. Go ahead.
Dave Moody with MRN. With the surge that RFK is on here lately, not just you, but also Brad, certainly Front Row having one of their best seasons. Comparing that to the rest of the Ford roster right now that seems to be struggling a lot more, is it a reasonable assumption that particularly at this point of the season, the everybody shares everything with everybody thing kind of gets pulled back a little bit, that maybe you guys have got something going on that the other Ford teams don't?
It's probably a little bit over my head in what I know about how much is shared. I guess I know that the 4 teams are still having weekly meetings that everybody is on. Everybody talks about our weekends. I do know that is still happening. I don't know if it's changed. I mean, from what I get through the recaps, it doesn't look like it's all of a sudden gotten really short or everybody's just, 3 sentences and done. It still looks the same to me. But that's kind of my 100-foot view. I'm not in the trenches enough to know if that would be a safe assumption or not. I'd like to think not. I'd like to think that we're all still trying to find that high tide and help all of us. But at the same time, selfishly, we need to focus on our own program too. So, I don't have the right answer for you, but just from the limited amount that I see during the week, I don't believe so. That's somebody else may give you a completely different answer and call me a liar or call me out for making assumptions. But I think we're still working together to try and make this better for all of us.
All right, go ahead.
Steve Post, Motor Racing Network. Chris, you have a 20-minute practice session on Abrasive Darlington with 1 set of tires. Kind of a two-parter. How critical is it to come off the truck good? And then what do you look for? What do you look for, assuming the car is decent in that short run, knowing that 3 laps into it you're on junk tires at that point?
Yeah. So let's see. We'll go out there and hopefully we'll get 35 or 40 miles of practice in. Right? I mean, that's is that realistic, 20-something laps if you run it out? I guess that's our hope, is that we, take our first lap on track, feel like we're in a decent place with our build subs Mustang, and if that gets us in a spot where we can run it out, we'll try and make what would be considered a long run for us in practice. We're in a good spot being in Group 2 because it is, most similar track conditions to a race after having hopefully as much rubber put down as possible in that first group ahead of us. So that part's good, but you're not getting a true long run feel. You're just trying to gauge where it's heading. So that's our hope, is that it is very important to your first part of your question. It's very important to be good so that we can try and get those laps in, so that we're not trying to come in, make 2 changes in a 20-minute practice, which ultimately gives you maybe 12 laps. If you're hustling that bad, it'll throw a wrench in your practice real quick, and then you won't know where you're heading on the long run side of things. So, that's our hope, is that we can get on track and run this thing out for that 20 minutes start to finish.
All right, we're gonna go Mike and then Greg. Go ahead, Mike.
Mike Embry, Auto Week. How involved day to day is Jack at the shop, and can you gauge his reaction to the recent success you guys have had?
I can definitely gauge his reaction, but he's surely been in really good spirits. It's been fun, really this whole year to see Jack around a lot and picking fun at everybody and enjoying what we've got going on. It's refreshing. It's been a hard road for a long time, and I think it's cool to see that coming back out. He's still at the track quite a bit on the year. Just recently has gotten to the point where he's not at the track every single race, right? It wasn't, maybe 2 or 3 years ago where he never missed a race. So, it's maybe not here quite as often as normal, but still see him at the shop during the weeks and are able to, have those quick conversations and talk about what we've done right and also what we can do better. He's not one to get too caught up in only the bright side of things and forget that there's still work to be done. So it is constantly, what do we need to do to make sure that we can keep this going forward? What can we do to make sure that we're competitors in the playoffs? just in a better mindset with those conversations now. When you have a direction, when you have an idea, it's hard to ask what we need to be better when we don't know. When we've been hunting for that for a long time, and now that we feel like we have just a direction to go in, it makes those conversations a lot more pleasant.
All right, Greg.
Greg Engel Forbes. Second appearance in the playoffs. Obviously, this time is a little better than the last time. But last year you weren't. Can you kind of compare what it's like so far to be inside the playoff bubble as opposed to living on the outside of the NASCAR playoff bubble?
Can I let you know in a week or two? Just a little early to get a good feel, but so far I would say, making the playoffs our rookie season with Front Row was huge, right? And it was so much fun to do that and to have that upset. But sitting here right now, or sitting here at that moment back in 2016, we knew we were in a pretty big underdog situation, and we're just happy to be there. It's a little different this time around because we're competitors. We have a really good shot to do big things here, and we don't feel like we're in an underdog situation. So it's certainly a pretty big departure from what the feeling was back then. I'm supposed to know more now. What is that, 7 years ago? So supposed to be better at this by this point, and in a better place to make a run at this thing. But it's certainly the biggest change being in the playoffs and being locked in the playoffs this year was honestly Daytona, and going into a super speedway race that can be so wild, and not having the stresses of that race being your last shot, right? That Hail Mary trying to get in. That made that race a whole lot more enjoyable, which enabled us to go about it a little differently, which made the end result a whole lot more enjoyable as well.
All right. Right here in the back. Trey, you see him right there in the blue. Oh, right here. Yep. Sorry. Thanks, bud.
Trenton Worsham, frontstretch.com. Striking the iron really hot in the last few weeks, getting these wins and stuff has shot you up the playoff board. With this round being so unpredictable in the first round, usually taking out a lot of great guys, how do you approach these three races having that little cushion that you have right now?
Not a whole lot different. Very similar to last year, honestly, is try to figure out how to make these as good as possible. Try to not let what happened last year, and part in our doing, not let non-playoff drivers rack up wins and make it stressful for everybody in the playoffs, right? So, we have some good tracks here. Like I said, I love this racetrack. Statistically, not my strongest out of the three that we're heading into, but I do love this place and have been good at times. So just trying to study and learn more about this place. Go to Kansas and Bristol, obviously coming off of the last win there last season, was a good way to give us a lot of high hopes going in, but you don't want to be in a situation much like Daytona being a cutoff race. You don't want to have to go into Bristol saying we have to win this thing to move on. You surely want to have more consistency leading up to that. Hopefully a win leading up to that, to where you're not trying to use that elimination race as your Hail Mary again. It just puts you in a really tough spot. So we're not going to change a whole lot of what we're doing. Like I said, we have been doing good things. We've been very consistent all year long. We've been very close to wins a lot through the beginning of the season, and then been able to capitalize and execute really well when we've had very good opportunities ahead of us as of late. But I think we're just going to stick with that, try and see what we can do, knowing those things, and take both our cars and keep moving forward.
All right. Any additional questions for Chris? All right. Thanks for spending some time with us. Best of luck this weekend.
Thank y'all very much.